Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Banda Kashavit International. Today we have Andrea with us. Hi, Andrea. How are you?
Hi, Rocco is going.
Oh, that's good, Andrea. It's good to hear that. Alex is gonna join us shortly. He's wrapping up a call, and today there are a lot of topics to discuss, guys. Right? Like first things first, we are 3 points from our Champions League. I don't want to hear people that say if Juventus didn't get disqualified that we wouldn't be in the Champions League. Juventus did a lot of bad things, so it's fair and square. But Andrea, like 3 points in a season where Milan had a lot of trouble producing results. What do you expect to see coming up in the next game with Juventus? Quite a big game for us.
Maybe less than 3 points could be enough, because we depends also by the results of Inter against Atalanta and Rome against Fiorentina. So we will be the last one that will play, and then we will start the game knowing already how many points we will need.
That didn't make sense. Like, I mean, to me, like, what I would like to see, to be honest with you, is to understand what I would like to see a little bit more of some players in the last two games of the season, because I kind of got the feeling that we keep pushing the same 11, but there are some optimizations that can be done to the team as we proceed. Overall, like what I think is going to be important is that we put the best team without avoiding the issues that led us to this problem. I've been there has been rumors, for example, of Pobega playing as a number 10, but most likely Pioli is gonna play Juventus with Brahim Diaz and Messias again. I kind of feel uneasy about that. Like, do you think, Andrea, that this coach is able to really understand what went wrong this season? Because he keeps pushing the same thing, even though now we know and everybody knows that it doesn't work well.
It's difficult to say something like that when we're talking about the last two matches of the season. In the first half, we played with Pobega like center attacking midfielder, with Brahim Diaz on like a right wing, and we got a pretty good result. We won 2-0, and this could be a good configuration. I think on the side that this is not the time of experiments. So this is the time to go straight with certain things, even though I don't like absolutely to see Brahim Diaz together with Messias on the back of Giroud. This is one of the biggest problem that we had in this season, but I think that we are going to end in this way. Then the market will give opportunities to rebuild.
But Andrea, I have a question for you. Alex, who just joined, by the way, I think you should be able to admit him, made a very interesting comment the other day.
All
And I'm
right.
gonna wait for Alex. Hi, Alex.
Welcome, Alex. How is going?
Hello, hello everyone.
You
Nice
cut
to be
Alex,
it, you
here.
cut it everything. You cut it hair, beard, everything. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm an egghead.
Cool. Cool. You just need a bit of sun on the head, but it's okay.
well, Alex, I was just talking about you because yesterday in a Twitter space on Banda Kashavit, you made a very interesting comment, in my opinion. And I would like to kind of have a little discussion.
That would be a first as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think you must have been drinking or something.
Oh yeah.
But your comment was very interesting because it said something in regards to Brahim Diaz. He said, I think we don't need to buy Brahim Diaz, not because Brahim Diaz is not good, but because unless you take him away from Pioli, he will keep playing him in the same position. He will not move it to the right. So my question to you guys is, Pioli is clearly the person that AC Milan wants to have as a coach. And Pioli he mentioned in an interview that he understood that AC Milan needs to play with a defensive midfielder as a number 10, but then in reality, he never plays it there. He played Benacer at some point. Yes, Pobega today is playing again with Brahim Diaz and Messias. What do you guys think? Like, Andrea, what do you think about Alex's comment? Is he right about the fact that unless you remove those players from Pioli's reach, he will keep falling into the same mistake? Or do you think that he's waiting for the next season to make the switch?
If we really have this problem, we have a big problem. So if we need to take the toy off from the kid, this situation can be a big problem. I think that this summer has to be helpful to rebuild the thinking of the tactical strategies for the next season. And in this way, once you're going to put players inside the roadster, it's very, very important to play like an architect, to create the good balance about the needs that you can develop during the season. We're going to play every 3 days again. There will be the African Cup. We will still have 5 changes per match. So once you have to create your roadster, you need to go in that direction. The misunderstanding about Brahim Diaz and Messias start from the strategies that that inspired all the season. That was wrong. It can happen. We are not crying for that. For sure, at the end of the season, management and Pioli, if Pioli, we will continue to stay on the bench of AC Milan, we'll need for sure to put everything on the table, share ideas, thinking, analyze problems, and understand which is the better strategy to go through.
But what do you think is the issue, Alex? Because, like, I mean, let's just assume for a second that, Pioli is going to stay. And most likely he will. Like, he has a contract for another 2 years. But more importantly than that, everybody within the AC Milan circle keeps supporting the coach, which is okay. Everybody's a project. And I'm not going to be here saying whether it's right or wrong, because I do not have insider information. But what do you think needs to change? Like, do you think Pioli needs to take the next step in his career learning, in his coach abilities? Because to me, there are a couple of things that are quote unquote worrying, which is, first of all, we have been having him for 2.5 years, if I remember correctly, right? But I kind of feel
3.5.
3.5? Oh, yeah, I don't remember. But the biggest issue that I encounter in the current management style is the overall not understanding of the situation in a certain game. Because, for example, we are going to play against Juventus on Sunday. Juventus has a pretty physical midfield. If I remember correctly, they have Rabiot. They have, I think, Miretti, because Fagioli is injured. They have Paredes. So the moment you play with Brahim Diaz as a number 10 and you tell Rabiot to mark Diaz, that's the end of Diaz. It's like we have seen it game in and game over and over again. So what I'm thinking is, how come that there has been no improvement from that front, right? Like, it just shocks me.
I think it's a very broad conversations, and there are many topics to address here. The thing that I mostly how should I put this in a pleasant way, the things that I think we've done some mistakes this season is to propose a style of playing regardless of the opponent,
or regardless of the interpreters, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, regardless of the opponent and their players, and regardless of who we're going to put on the pitch on our side. So we carried on with the same players. So in my opinion, this kind of and based on the results that we had during the season, is one, not recognizing problems, two, not solving problems, and three, thinking that by doing the same thing all over again, you're going to achieve different results. But so those are the things that make me doubt Pioli for the upcoming seasons, because yes, he took us when we were in 6 feet under, so to say. So you know what I mean. We weren't doing good. So he built a team. He built strategies and everything, but he reached a point where, to me, it seems like he cannot go a step further.
And Andrea, I would like you to build on this point, but adding a little bit of spice to it. Alex talked about the not optimizing the team for people based on the characteristics of another team, right? But I would like to add not using opportunities to spice up the team. What do I mean specifically? This morning I woke up, I opened my phone, and I saw a photo of AC Milan celebrating something. And I was like, what are they celebrating? And then I learned that Adli invited everybody, including the wives, to a party in his garden where he catered to everybody and gave them food. So I'm like, this guy, it is a good player, which we had not used. He's a great team builder. He's there all the time, although he played 129 minutes. So what does somebody needs to do other than playing well? Because the few times he played, he actually showed some good things. He's helping the team bond. He's a great presence in the locker room. How come that a guy like that doesn't get opportunities, right? So on one end,
if I may add something, he was, well, at least based on the video that we saw, he was the first player to learn a new chant by the Curva Sud. So
he also learned Italian, by the way. And so what I'm thinking is, there is a problem of always using the same people and not adapting to the other teams. But I can understand CDK that doesn't play. I can understand Branks. But Adli has showed to be ready to play more than 129 minutes, right? So that's another issue that I would like you to analyze in addition to what Alex brought in.
Issues are a lot. There's more than one, and Adli is one of the main. If you listen to AC Milan fans now, the most they are separate are the one that say you don't live in Milanello, you are not a trainer, you don't see him every day, so you cannot say anything about the Pioli's work. There is someone else that think different. So instead of create sentences, they start to put questions in front of them. And this is a big one of the biggest one regarding different misunderstandings that run this season. Adli, for the one that look at him, that went to study him, I studied him even with Y Scout. I saw few matches that he played with Bordeaux the last year. And I think that he got maybe the best quality in the foot of all the roster. He's a very quality guy. I don't know what he can do worse than AC Milan when it happened that they lose 5-2 against Sassuolo, 4-0 against Lazio, not over than 2 points in 2 matches against Cremonese. So I think that to do worse than that is difficult. You cannot do less than 0 points once you lose a match. In this way, if you want to say something that regard Pioli about that, this is one of the biggest problem that runs this season. I always remember that, yes, it's true. It happens in all the teams, but 30% of the costs that we pay every year regard players that was not included in the plan of the season, and this is something that should not work like that. And he is a great guy, and I really hope that it will be part of the team next year.
But Andrea, if you were like, let's just think of it from a high level, right? We have Cardinale, we have Maldini, Massara, and we have Pioli, right?
You forgot Furlani.
Furlani, yeah, in between the two. At some point, right, let's say they decide to say, okay, we want to keep Pioli, we believe he can improve. We want to keep Maldini and Massara, we believe they can do better. X is a first market with Redbird and everything. But is somebody going to sit down with Pioli to talk about these issues, right? Because these are issues, because these are players that have a huge potential. There will be more coming, but we do not want to have the same issue if there are more coming, right? Because yes, he made Origi play because Origi was Origi. He let CDK play because he was the star purchase. But we're going to have a lot of players that are not going to be the star purchase. And if you start to not let them play, they are going to start not to come to our team, because they know that for a year they're going to sit on the bench, making parties in their garden.
Has to be one, like I told before, once you sit at the table and you start to put things on that, this is one of the component. So of course, if they want to go straight, there are many things that has to be fixed. Brahim Diaz in that position, even Benacer and Tonali, that if they play in the two with Brahim Diaz ahead, they create it cannot work like that. So if they want to go straight in the same line, I think that we need to prepare ourselves for the next season, that maybe we'll end with this with Pioli in November, because you cannot have a result if you continue to go in the same line. If you start to think different and try to fix what didn't work, maybe we can have a chance. But in our position now, it's very hard to understand. Unfortunately, we can see how things will be only when it will happen.
And
it's
Alex,
too early, possible to say now.
What's your take on that? Do you agree with Andrea?
I think a preliminary analysis has already been done by the top ones. So by Furlani, he most probably had support from data analysts, independent from the figures of Maldini, of Massara, and so on. So he must have had some sort of guidance. I believe that most probably a dialogue in between Furlani and Maldini has already started, and perhaps there is already the skeleton of a decision already taken. I also think that they will have a final conversation in between all of them. So in between Furlani, whoever is counseling him, Maldini, Massara, and Pioli, to analyze the season, and based on that, they will move forward. I don't expect it to go further than maybe 1-2 weeks after the end of the season, and at that point something will be communicated.
Yeah, one better, I said.
So Andrea, let me bring up another point that is connecting all of these dots, right? We know that let's go back a few years. The Netherlands go to the final of the World Cup many years ago, playing something that was called total football. The total football evolved throughout the years, and it became the tiki-taka with Guardiola. And Guardiola,
before Guardiola, there was Sacchi.
Sake, yeah, but that's evolution, right? And
Yes.
still to this day, this is what clearly works the best, right? Bielsa is
The
another
mechanic orange.
yeah, Bielsa is another coach that, like, uses that kind of coaching style. And when I look at AC Milan, one of the things that strikes my attention is something that Pioli and Maldini both said at the beginning of the season last year, which they were like, at AC Milan, we are not looking for a player that plays in one position. We are looking for players that can be versatile and play different positions, which is basically the base of total football, right? So my thought is, why on earth we buy players that can be versatile on the pitch, but then we stick to one formation all year? Like, is it because to apply the style of soccer you need a next level coach, like 9-10 million a year, or it's just simply the fear of adapting something of that sort? Because they're clearly working on getting players that can be versatile. Just look at the names that are associating with AC Milan. Milinkovic-Savic can play 3 roles. Kamada can play 3 roles. We are getting strikers that can potentially play as wingers. It's like everything is pointing in that direction, but we are not doing nothing with that.
Yeah, but if I may, there is what you have said is true. However, there is another. It has been said by Pioli. I think it was towards the beginning of the season, where he said this team can only perform if they give and they have 100%. I'm sorry, but when you are supposed to compete on 3 different, at least 3 different competitions during a season, so that's the Serie A, that's the Champions League, and that's the Coppa Italia. So you're saying that this team can only perform their best when they are 100% in 3 competitions, but you only use 13, 14 players out of 30. So how can they be 100%?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So
and having also a lot of injuries. This is a good point, Alex. And I was thinking in these days that this year's was a year that we tried to do something different about the physical work. If we saw with attention, we wasn't so brilliant like seasons before. And maybe they try to do that to reduce the number of injuries during the season. It didn't work much. Worked a little bit by the muscular one, but the accident was still a lot. So this is another point. I don't know anything about the integration of data and studies that they practice. That they used with Toulouse last season. I wish that an integration by knowledge should be put in the Pioli stuff.
Well, I think, Andrea, to be honest with you about the injury side of things, if you want to use data, most likely they're gonna start this upcoming season, because I think everything starts with the preparation, right? We don't need to forget that, the closing was in August, but the season started so early this year that they probably didn't even have the time to implement a plan of work based on Reds, Birds data and, concepts. So I think we will see next year if there is any impact.
I wish.
I think so.
I wish that because, the project regards 5 years that consequently give you the Champions League. After 5 years in Champions League, you can have the real first step of dimension. You create the base of about your ranking, and can maybe also level you up to the second line. Now we are in the third one. Last time we was in the fourth one. 2 years ago. So next year, if we can go in Champions League, we'll be the third one. At the end of the 5th, we can start to take the first line. Of course, the situation of the Liga in Serie A and the situation that regard the stadium will be on the side other two extremely important things for the future of AC Milan.
I agree. And Alex, I don't know your feeling on that, right? But I guess this summer, at least for me, is gonna be quite exciting because it's gonna be a summer where it is the first year where we do not know how things are gonna be done. There is Zelus. We don't know what's gonna go on inside of AC Milan with Zelus, and they will not tell us what is going on. Let's be clear, because that's like trading secrets for them, right? Then, in addition to that, there is gonna be the interest in understanding how the team is gonna shapeshift with the summer market. It's like, are they actually doing something to show us? We're getting, I'm saying two names, Milinkovic and Kamada. So we know if they keep Diaz, is gonna play on the right? Because otherwise, why do you buy Milinkovic and Kamada? So what is the thing that, do you think AC Milan is trying to do the market right away to be able to have a team that can do a preparation, or you're gonna see that more in phases? Like, I believe Andrea mentioned it today in a podcast he was on, where he was like, we're gonna see a market in phases where there are gonna be some people we're gonna take right away, some people that we need to have negotiation for, and potentially some last minute deals. Do you expect something like that, or something that we have not seen so far?
No, I think it's, yeah, I mean, it's likely, it's very likely to have, a transfer window based on those actions. I think the sooner we have the certainty of qualifying for the next Champions League, the sooner actually our transfer window will start. So we'll see some movement in that respect. But to be honest, Jerry Cardinale has already told us how it's going to work. He said various times, we want to decrease the volatility of results by having consistent growth, consistent results by the team, because that will grow the value and the performances of the team. So in that respect, I expect him, to talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah, that makes sense, because you definitely need to intervene now if you want that consistency, because let's be honest, the way we played this year, it's an absolute miracle we made the semifinals and that we are still qualifying to the Champions League, because nowhere I've ever seen team qualifying with 12 defeats, and I'm talking about Inter, 8 defeats, and I'm talking about AC Milan. That's probably a very unique happening in the Serie A. I don't recall any other campionato where team qualified to the Champions League with those performances.
Yeah, but that's exactly the volatility that Jerry Cardinale is talking about. So you can have a poor season in your league, but because of meeting Tottenham when they're not going through a great moment, having a certain draw that puts you in a certain side of the teams, because on one side you had us, Naples, Inter, who else was there? Porto, I think, and on the other side you had Real Madrid, Manchester City, Bayern Munich. So I mean, come on.
Yeah,
that's like that was like, if you think before 1989, it was like having Italy, France, Germany, and England compete with Romania, Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary. It was just,
yeah,
it was that.
But do you think, Alex or Andrea, it is going to be next year is going to be very interesting, because Andrea mentioned in October this is going to be a year of transition. Nobody has ever been more right in saying something. So I don't know if Andrea went to read the bottom of a coffee cup and came up
No,
with
no, 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 because you need to understand how the elements compose the total. And I want to say that transitions time are extremely important. We live in transition. All life is in transition. Everything, every single second is in transition. So everything is part of the path. And of course, there is the time where we can be able to compete. That's the time that we are there to win, and that's the time that we need to fix something. It's part of the development, and I can accept it. Important, in my point of view, is the direction. Looking from where you're coming from, you need to understand where you're going to.
but
And
Andrea,
last thing, very important, is everything you do and everything we will do next season has to be something like that. Wish the best, making ready for the worst, and this is something that need to be the base for all kind of activities. Sorry.
well, the only thing I wanted to mention is that it was a year of transition, but very badly managed at all levels, because you didn't improve the level or the value of any of the youngsters he brought in except Chao. So when you do a transition period, right, you try to increase the level of the players. So next year you get players that are at a higher level without spending money, right? And that part has been failed. And I really hope they renew the loan of Ranks, because that guy has a bright future. But again, it's another example of somebody that never did.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is a great opportunity to understand the level of problem solving that you got, and the time of reaction, and the time to find solutions that you need.
The time has been 8 months. But
Yes, yeah, no, but this is something that can give you some answers. And of course, on the other side, potentially give you a lot of opportunities to find where you can find obstacles. Obstacles in nature are extremely important. Boat cannot go on the sea without water that creates resistance. The same, the plane in the air with the flying in the air. So adversity, it can be prosperity if you are able to use it in the right way. So next season will show the quality of our management on the bench and on top of him.
no, I agree. Like, I mean, to me, next season, I would say that success is going to be easily getting in the Champions League, easily, and potentially fighting for the title. Not necessarily winning the title, but fighting, not getting 20 points from the second one. And, you know, I want to specify also to our listeners that spending money is not everything. Alex, as a neighbor called Chelsea, that shows that only spending money is not the solution to a team's problem, right?
Let me say something, Rocco. Sorry, Alex. It's very important that you put the goal that you want to reach, but you need immediately to forget it.
Yeah.
Because you should concentrate only to your job. Concentrating to your job will help you to create your dimension during the way. If you think only to reach the goal, it's a very, very risky plan. It's always a big risky plan. It's much better concentrate on what you need to do to reach the goal. Sorry, Alex, if I talk over you.
No. I mean,
no, I don't excuse you.
No. Honestly, there's no need to apologize. No, I mean, you know, yeah, you can look at Chelsea what they've done this season, but I would go even further and you know talk about PSG. you know, how much money they have spent, and what have they done. They haven't they haven't won any Champions League. They even managed to lose Ligue 1 a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. If you want to go even further back, you can talk about the Inter team that was owned by Moratti. What did he win? And you know, he spent shitloads of money. So it's not about the money; it's about what you do with it.
That is true, but that brings
Totally
up
agree.
one last topic to us. I know we have 10 more minutes today, and I would like to address a few interesting topics that came from the chat. There is a
Sorry,
question.
can I say something at this point?
No,
that
no, not, Andre.
No. Something like on the side that we are going to create a podcast later. The first one will start after the match of Juventus Milan, and we will start to create a podcast that will comment the match the day after. So this is something that we are going to upgrade with Vanda Kashavit International. Sorry, Rocco, I wanted to say that now.
Well, I was joking. But no, there is a question from Herbert, a statement from Herbert, which I think Andrea probably would like to clarify on. Where he says, Cardinale's strategy, it seems to me like gambling more than anything. Now, in reality, this is the opposite of gambling, what Cardinale does, right? Because we cannot say much, but we might be able to hear it from the source in some point this summer. We cannot say more about it, but Cardinale is all about reducing the risk, not increasing the risk, right? Because let's look at Toulouse from the Serie B, from the Ligue 1, what's the name is Ligue 2?
Ligue 2.
Yeah, the second league basically in France, to winning the French Cup in a few years, right? That's all about reducing risk. Statistics is about reducing the risks, because otherwise they wouldn't buy a soccer team, like a football team. They are investing serious money. So my thought is, although it looks like to maybe somebody that has never worked with data that it's all about gambling on numbers, actually it's the opposite. Those numbers make sure that you are not gonna incur into issues that you cannot foresee when you do a purchase or when you make a decision based on instincts, right? So I think Andrea maybe want to build up on that, but I think it's very important to explain how Cardinale's method is almost like the safest bet you can possibly make.
No,
Well, I will do something that Andrea has done earlier and speak over him this time.
Okay, go.
And say 100% Cardinale is not gambling, and you know why? Because Elliott is still part of the project. Elliott is a fund that doesn't gamble. They win, but they don't gamble.
Yes, that's the reason why I play poker and I never play blackjack. It's a big argument, and maybe we will take maybe if Herbert would like, maybe we will take an episode talking completely about that. I try to be short, and I try to give elements that try to give me an understanding about it. I try to see the experience that Cardinale accumulated in the last 20 years with management of media company, TV rights inside the sport business. Rocco, please switch off your microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Inside the sport business in the United States. Starting from that, I started to look with interest at the football in Europe, and looking at that, he became a partner with a company that work with the reading of data, which is named Zelos Analytics. On the other side, he compared the level of the league in Europe, and they saw many opportunity of development in Italy. I'm talking about the Liga. And once you see something like that with other American investors that come to carry money to try to create something that it can works. On last Sunday, I did an episode with the lawyer Felice Raimondo, and we talk about the selling of the TV rights outside of Italy, and is something like just 200 million euro. Then I share this data with my sister-in-law. How do you say? Brother-in-law, how do I say, the husband of my sister, which works selling TV rights for Premier League, and he said that the potential of Serie A, thinking about something that will develop, is much higher than 200 million. At the same time, if you can create a system where you can fight on the pitch, but you and where you can be partner outside, all the teams should be partner of the same project. Of course, they use this part to put inside also 2 years with the stress test with Toulouse, where they try to experiment, putting in the extreme way the using of data to try to level up the growing of a team, taking Toulouse from the Ligue 2 for the second league of France, carrying in the first one, and won the League Cup. Next year, Toulouse will play the Europe League. So everything they are doing is done by planning, studying, market research. Not marketing research, market research. They studied deep the football in Europe. So what is then plan? The plan is to rebuild the league where they are playing, maybe with a leading to sample instead of go and change everything. So create another pool that can attract other teams that try to work in the right direction, and building a team step by step without create depth. And I think that in this moment, they are doing things that they know what they are doing. They are not gambling at all. This is my opinion. I don't talk with Cardinale.
And let's just say something that I want for everybody in the chat and who's going to listen to us later to be clear for them, is that Zelus Analytics is not a software where another team tomorrow can sign up for, because the owner of Zelus Analytics is also a co-founder at Redbird Capital. So that software, that team of people, because it's actually way more than just analyzing data, is a competitive advantage that AC Milan has that no other team can buy. They will need to build their own, and it's not easy to build something like that. So Zelus Analytics is not a company that Redbird uses. Redbird owns Zelus Analytics, and the owner of Zelus Analytics owns Redbird. He's a co-founder. So that's very important to mention. That's not something that Cardinale came in and was like, oh, we're going to buy a software and we're going to manage team. No, they built the software, guys. That's next level. That's something that, if it done right, can bring us a huge gap in competitive advantage to other teams. And that's something that is priceless, considering the gap with the Premier League.
Can we also mention that the founder of Zelus Analytics worked for AS Roma?
Yes, true.
For a couple of years, during the which they have bought the likes of Salah. Who else was there?
Rudiger, Alisson,
Chesney. That thing works, guys. We just need to be patient. We didn't have the time to use it yet, right?
Yes.
But guys, with that said, we're heading toward the conclusion of the episode. I would like, first of all, to thank Herbert, Animaniac, Igor.
Yes.
Igor, feel free to join us next week.
Herbert, sorry, but those weeks I was fully booked. I will write to you soon because I want to invite Herbert to join us one time. I created communication. I received your email. I'm so sorry if I didn't reply to you. I'm so busy now. You will join us very soon. Thanks for writing me, Herbert. Sorry, Rocco.
No worries. I just wanted to thank everybody, and don't miss the next episode next week. And next week, we're either going to be very happy because we qualified to the Champions League, or we will be praying to beat Verona, because that means we didn't do a good job on Sunday. Don't forget to support AC Milan. Follow us on all the channels. Your help is very appreciated. Thanks, Alex, and thanks, Andrea.
No. Subscribe if you would like in Banda Casciavit International. You can find it on Spreaker. In the next episode, we will give you details. And if you follow us on Twitter, we will post all the time everything we are doing. We also work with graphing and content like articles. We will soon have a website. So if you want to know what we're talking about, what we share, if you follow us, especially on Twitter, you will have all the upgrade about everything. Next Monday, we will record the podcast that we will talk about Milan Juventus. Sorry, I was long. Bye to everyone and thank you.
Bye-bye, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.